The opinions and views expressed by individuals during this broadcast are their own and may not be the opinions of this network, their group, or other organization they may be involved with.
Looking at myself, reflections of my mind. It's just the kind of day to leave myself behind. So gently swaying through the fairyland of love. If you'll just come with me, you'll see the beauty of Tuesday evening news. Tuesday evening
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Psychedelic Reporters for this Tuesday, the 3rd of August, episode 217 here on the OK Network, the video news podcast focused on psychedelic medicine being reported in mainstream media. Shout out to the guys from Dead Ringer from Kirkland Lake, Ontario for the awesome intro track, originally recorded by the Booty Blues with some customized changes for our show. I am joined by my amazing joint hosts, Tara Simpson, along with the one and only Bufo Albarius, who has chosen all of our stories for us. Hello, Tara.
Well, hello, hobbies, and hello, everyone. I'd like to take a minute to introduce Bufo. He's our Sonoran desert toad, or Colorado mud toad. Did you know he emits DMT from his skin? And while that sounds like great fun, park rangers would like to remind everyone, please don't lick the toads.
Don't lick them.
No, don't do it. Don't do it.
Oh, yeah. So I want to dive right into this shit. It's Psychedelic Tuesday.
Yeah, there's a lot of great articles Bufo's chosen this week.
It is. Our first article comes out of leafmagazines.com, and it talks about mushroom mutations. How
for the breed or the bread, but liquid cultures have been isolated from various structures like fins and corals. These should, in theory, produce a blob morphology, but they may not yield some of the same outcome in different environments. Christopher Pauly, CEO of Triptomics, explains
Triptomics.
Triptomics explain more about this interesting fungus to the leaf. It's not truly understood, like all blobs, this same mutation causing same phenotype, or is this multiple different mutations that could happen that all lead to this weird morphology to occur, Pauly said. The molecular biologist has theories about the origins of blob formations, but has yet to test them. This morphology has been observed in Syllabaceae cubensis, Syllabaceae natalis, and Syllabaceae ascorium species, but some isolated mutations have reverted back to having gills. This indicates it may be environmental or viral response, or even polyploidy rather than a DNA mutation. Pauly has theories, but there is not much research on how these mushrooms form. Why should they get into it? Because most blob mutations have tested higher potency compared to the fruiting body counterparts they mutated from. The same thing that makes it hard to replicate blobby shrooms may be what makes them hit so hard. When mushrooms drop spores, they lose potency, but non-guild blobs may not turn off the alkaloid production genes after sporulation. This allows them to become increasingly more potent. If it's a virus causing this mutation, it's a good one. Some blobs are even showing higher dried weight yields per flush. Wow, that's pretty cool.
It is. And the brains, coral and fins. Oh, look at that picture. Holy shit. Fins look otherworldly, and some new formations have joined the family in the last few years. Torque F8, isolated from the Psilocybe cubensis strain tidal wave, has become widely coveted for its potent nerd's morphology. It resembles the candy, and unique little hat appears on the fruiting body. Guttation, a process commonly observed in bleeding tooth fungi Hydelium pecci, has also popped up recently. Turns out the resulting liquid could prove useful. We find these metabolites have antibiotics, anti-cancer compounds of all kinds, cool properties with what compounds this mushroom produces and excretes. And so we have some cubensis do more of this blob formation, but with like divots in it. And it produces a lot of mutation, and so that's kind of one of the newer mutations that we've been able to see. Paul shared. Sometimes a freak makes that cut, and when a hobbyist takes note, psychedelic enthusiasts are blessed with new exciting anomalies that may also have impressive effects, and if the resources flow the right direction, biologists may find even more beneficial properties. For now, it is proven that these things look pretty cool. Mushroom terminology. Morphologies. The structure informs the certain mushrooms take. Sporulation. I just explained you the word. Sporulation, the production of spores from vegetative cells by fungi, bacteria, protozoa, and plants, and the polyploidy. This is when a whole genome duplicates during evolution. And guttation, the process in which plants and fungi push liquid metabolite drops from their tissue. So
that's pretty cool, because I have seen some of these different, like what we call like unique strains that are these blob formations. And I kind of wondered, like, what's that all about, and how does it get like that, and are they better? So now we have a little bit of an idea as to what's going on there, and that's pretty cool.
Right, and I actually witnessed some guttation before, and I started getting all worried because when you start seeing liquid and then like whatnot, then you worry it's going to get brown slime and it's going to contaminate, and it might just be a mutation process. So I'm glad Bufo's kind of put this in here to kind of show that, it is a culture, it does grow, it is a living thing, and it does some unique stuff.
Absolutely. Very cool.
So our next article comes out of news.usask.ca and University of Saskatchewan. That's up by you guys, right?
Yeah, that's Canada.
Yeah, USAC researcher maps cultural landscape of psychedelics. And what do you think when you think of psychedelics? By Aaron Matthews' research profile and impact.
Yeah. Our minds might conjure up a kaleidoscope of images, but when you think of music festivals like Woodstock, or posters with neon colors swirling or melting into new shapes, or maybe you think of a medical facility with doctors administering medication that can help ease anxiety and depression. Erica Dyke, PhD of University of Saskatchewan, has been studying the history of psychedelics for more than 2 decades and has seen conversations around the drugs morph over the years. The current story is driven by clinical experimentation and medical application of psychedelics, but as a historian working in this space, there are all sorts of ways that people come to know psychedelics. And the cultural aspect are defining, definitely contributing to shaping what we know about them and also what we fear about them, said Dyke, a professor in the Department of History in the College of Arts and Science and Canada Research Chair in the History of Health and Social Justice. With 25 years experience in the field, Dyke is exploring the cultural landscape of psychedelics with a new project funded by the Social Sciences and Humanities Research Council that focuses on a unique facet of this landscape, psychedelic festivals. Focusing on 2 case studies, Dyke and her colleagues will travel to 2 legal festival sites, one in Europe and one in Canada, to study both the risk-taking behaviors and harm reduction behaviors, which aim to reduce the negative effect of drugs, the festival attendees and volunteers. When people go to these festivals, there is an expectation that they are taking psychedelics recreationally, and that is something different from what we expect in a clinical space where you're using psychedelics to treat pathological conditions, said Dyke. We want to see what we can learn from these recreational spaces about how people are engaging in psychedelic use and maybe doing so in a harm
being implemented as festival goers and festival goer organizers. According to Dyke, the archival record from festivals like Woodstock and bands like the Grateful Dead shows that harm reduction behaviors have been a part of festival organizational efforts for a long time. For example, at concerts, spotters were often implemented to scan the crowd and assist anyone who looked distressed or dehydrated. Dyke's project looks to expand this archival record by collecting contemporary oral histories and interviews with festival goers and volunteers like nurses who have worked in recreational harm reduction. We find that in the current conversation on psychedelic leaves a lot of people, and so we want to create this archival collection that allows to accumulate evidence drawn from these festival spaces.
doing harm to themselves, or are they actually reducing harm because they're not going there and necessarily mixing substances, or they're just sticking to safe psychedelics and not getting inebriated on alcohol or doing harder substances? It'll be interesting to see what they find.
It can be considered a reset because you already got the place, time, and setting. You got all your friends, you got all the peace, love, and unity people, the blur. Yeah.
And everyone needs a good reset once in a while.
Yeah. So FoxNews.com is their third article before the break, and they state Tim Robbins turns to ayahuasca after feeling consumed by anger over cancel culture. The Shawshank Redemption star described an intense spiritual encounter with his late mother during the ceremony. And this is written by Stephanie Goin.
Yeah, this is really cool because this is like one of my favorite classic movies that he starred in. But it's also cool because he's a big star and he's speaking out about what he's up to in the psychedelic space, which is so needed in this world today. The more people who bring awareness to these psychedelics, the better. One Oscar-winning actor Tim Robbins says an ayahuasca trip helped him break free of the anger he felt over America's deep divide. Robbins revealed the psychedelic experience left him feeling completely lighter after years of frustration with cancel culture and political polarization. The Shawshank Redemption star said he turned to the Amazonian psychedelic brew with one goal in mind: to stop being consumed by outrage over what he sees as unraveling of modern society. They tell you to go with an intention, Robbins said during a candid appearance on the Joe Rogan Experience. It was my intention. I was frustrated with feeling anger about what was going on in the world. And I said, I want to release that. I don't want to be consumed by that anger. Robbins said his psychedelic experience was an intense spiritual journey that included what he described as an encounter with his late mother. What she said was, "You're injured. You're a warrior and you're injured and you need to rest, but the fight is over," Robbins recalled. When Joe Rogan asked what battle he believed he was fighting, Robbins pointed squarely at today's cultural wars. I was battling my frustration with the disillusion of society, people being angry at each other over ridiculous things, long friendships being affected, people being canceled for expressing their opinion, all of that stuff. He said, I wanted out. I wanted to be absolved of that. I didn't want to be engaged in it. Although Robbins acknowledged skeptics would dismiss the experience, he said it profoundly changed him. I felt her presence there and was no doubt it was her, he said, adding, by the end of the ceremony, he felt completely lighter and reconnected with his late mother. Earlier in the conversation, Robbins also spoke of a hot button issue, arguing that cancel culture bears striking similarities to tactics used under the former Soviet Union. The actor recalled touring Eastern Europe with his play Topsy Turvy, where he asked audience members in Romania what aspects of modern life reminded them of the communist era. They said, without a doubt, cancel culture, Robbins recounted. Wow.
Yeah, so according to Robbins, audience members describe how Soviet authorities allegedly kept damaging personal files on citizens and weaponized them against anyone who stepped out of line. Well, Soviet Union used to keep files on all of us, right? He recalled the person saying, so as long as you're a good party member, there wouldn't be a thing. But once you stepped out of line, they brought that old file. Now that affair with your secretary from 30 years ago is going to ruin your life. They're going to ruin your family. They're going to kill your career. They're going to make a big public display, or it will show other people to stay in line. They felt like cancel culture was basically operated in the same way as the Soviet Union did, Robbins said. It was really interesting to see that perspective in Eastern Europe, people that have, lived under that kind of oppressive situation and their perspective on modern day. Robbins has been a fixture in Hollywood for more than 4 decades, winning the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor for 2003's Mystic River, and starring in films like The Shawshank Redemption, Bull Durham, and Top Gun. He also founded the Los Angeles Theater Company. The Actors Guild has become increasingly outspoken in recent years, criticizing COVID-19 lockdowns and vaccine mandates. Interesting.
That's pretty cool. He's been around a long time, and for him to be speaking out publicly that's so cool. I love it when they do that.
Right, and ayahuasca. It's pretty cool when they take natural medicines. I love it. Well, it's medication.
That's right, folks. It's time to pay some bills, so stay tuned for a word from some of our amazing sponsors, and then we'll return with more articles Bufo has chosen making mainstream media news.
Back in 4 minutes and 20 seconds. Here on Psychedelic Reporters on NOK Network.
Dirty Dave.
Well, it's told
award-winning cultivator for over 4 decades. Dirty Dave, prized genetics fueled by advanced nutrients, original OG organics. Dirty Dave, award-winning products available at these fine establishments. Ask your shop to carry Dirty Dave. Contact us at dirtiesdoggies@gmail.com.
Join us for NOK Network monthly specials, 12 months a year, movie nights, spotlights on entertainment, and live on location coverage. Stay up to date about upcoming programming by subscribing to NOK Network on Rumble, YouTube, X, LinkedIn, Twitch, and Facebook. Check out our webpage at www.noknetwork.com.
Hey, hi, my name is John Mark, aka Sublimator Warrior, and I would like to welcome you to Smoke Signal in Tyendinaga.
One dab make your whole dome drip sweat. One dab make the homies all dip set.
Smoke Signals, Tyendinaga.
Smoke Signals, Tyendinaga.
Smoke Signals, Tyendinaga.
Ooey, ooey, gooey, that's a sticky dab. Sticky dab. Might just have to put this one on Instagram.
Smoke Signals,
Go ahead,
Tyendinaga.
hold it in, feel it in your wrist.
Smoke Signals, Tyendinaga.
Check us out in Tyendinaga. 55 Highway 49 in Tyendinaga. It's on the res, and we're open from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. 7 days a week.
Now we get back to the show.
And we're back from our medication session live here on Psychedelic Reporters on NOK Network.
And we have another set of stories coming at you from the realm of psychedelic medicine. So let's get at it. Okay. All right. It's this, but it's been a while since I worked here. Okay. GlobeNewsWire.com says Rose Hill Life Sciences and Control Z sign letter of intent to advance clinically structured psilocybin assisted therapy for PTSD. partnership establishes the framework for the first regulated psychedelic therapy program in the Commonwealth, uniting Rose Hills pharmaceutical grade psychedelic therapeutic intervention, which is PTI, protocol with Control Z's comprehensive care model to serve veterans, first responders, and civilians failed by conventional treatment pending state licensure. And this is Source Rose Hill Health Holdings LLC.
Yeah, so this was written July 31st of this year. Rose Hill Life Sciences, a clinical stage biotechnology company advancing psychedelic therapeutics for neurological and psychiatric conditions, announced that it has signed a letter of intent with Control Z, a Massachusetts healthcare public benefit corporation redefining psychedelic care through a holistic medical model to advance a structured, clinically grounded psilocybin assisted therapy program for post-traumatic stress disorder through Rose Hill's Psychedelic Therapeutic Intervention Program. Post-traumatic stress disorder affects an estimated 13 million Americans annually, with current pharmacological and psychotherapeutic options leaving a substantial portion of patients without adequate relief. The condition imposes significant individual, social, and economic burdens, and the medical community has increasingly looked to novel mechanisms of action to expand available treatment options. Upon receiving state approval and licensing, the collaboration will position both organizations among the first to deliver a fully regulated, medically supervised psychedelic therapy program in the state using Rose Hill's PTI clinical framework. The collaboration unites Rose Hill's scientific and regulatory infrastructure with Control Z's advanced biopsychosocial care delivery model. Control Z's approach integrates medically guided psychedelic sessions with biotherapeutics, physical training, nutrition, breathwork, and mindfulness, a multi-model framework that complements Rose Hill's emphasis on pharmaceutical grade quality, structured therapeutic protocols, and responsible development. PTI builds on an earlier iteration of its model that Rose Hill has already delivered through a veterans retreat in Jamaica, combining preparation, a supervised psilocybin experience, and structured integration, operational experience that now informs PTI's clinical framework, safety systems, and U.S. implementation approach. This agreement reflects our conviction that meaningful outcomes in psychedelic medicine require more than a compound, said Gemma Pittman, CEO of Rose Hill Life Sciences. They require a rigorously validated protocol, a disciplined clinical environment, and a delivery partner committed to the same standards of care. Control Z shares that commitment, and together we intend to demonstrate what responsible, scalable psychedelic assisted therapy can look like at the clinical level.
So, Control Z was built on the belief that psychedelic care done properly demands the same scientific discipline as any other advanced medicine, said Colin Beatley, CEO and co-founder of Control Z. Partnering with Rose Hill gives us a protocol grounded in that principle and a pathway to bring genuinely clinically grade psilocybin assisted therapy to Massachusetts. Many veterans, first responders who have been failed by conventional treatment. The Control Z collaboration advances Rose Hill's PTI program for PTSD, one of the 4 active clinical stage development efforts. The company's lead program, conducted in exclusive partnership with Johns Hopkins University, represents the world's first clinical trial investigating psilocybin for post-stroke motor recovery, targeting a $46 billion market with no current psychedelic competition. Rose Hill's pipeline also includes programs in depression and autism spectrum disorder. Psilocybin-assisted therapy has emerged as one of the most actively studied and investigational approaches across multiple psychiatric indications. Direct evidence for psilocybin, specifically in PTSD, remains early stage, comprisingly small open label and feasibility focused studies that support continued development rather than establish efficacy. Psilocybin remains an investigational compound and that is not approved by the FDA for treatment of PTSD or any other indication outside of regulated research settings. As a psychiatrist at the VA Boston healthcare system, I firsthand see how many veterans are living with PTSD that have not responded to any available treatment. This partnership represents exactly the kind of clinically leading edge, medically grounded approach that this population deserves and has been waiting for, said Dr. Edwin Rafi, Control Z's chief medical officer. The LOI between Control Z and Rose Hill supports the strategy of building delivery partnerships that extend clinical infrastructure into regulated markets, creating pathways from research to patient access grounded in pharmaceutical grade quality and evidence-based protocol design, consistent with Rose Hill's staged approach to evaluating feasibility, safety, and outcomes before advancing efficacy claims. Whew.
Yeah, about Rose Hill Life Sciences. Rose Hill Life Sciences is a clinical stage biotechnology company advancing psilocybin-based therapeutics for neurological and psychiatric conditions. The company holds an exclusive worldwide license with Johns Hopkins University, supporting the world's first clinical trial investigating psilocybin for post-stroke motor recovery, and maintains active research collaboration across 4 clinical programs targeting stroke recovery, depression, autism spectrum disorder, and post-traumatic stress disorder. Rose Hill's vertical integration operations, spanning cultivation and extraction in Jamaica, formulating and manufacturing and clinical development partnerships across the United States and Canada, support pharmaceutical grade quality supply chain control and scientific rigor from source to patient. As the world's inaugural legal exporter of psilocybin, Rose Hill is committed to advancing evidence-based treatments and setting new standards for safety, efficacy, and responsible development in psychedelic medicine. For more example, you can click that link below and go ahead and check that out. And then about Control Z. Control Z is an advanced psychedelic mental health and physical resilience treatment company delivering personalized, comprehensive biopsychosocial care pathways designed to promote deep healing, mental resilience, and sustainable transformation. Control Z integrates medically guided psychedelic sessions with cutting-edge biotherapeutics, physical training, health diagnostics, nutrition, breathwork, and mindfulness in a licensed medical facility setting. And there's a clickable link below to their website as well.
That was awesome. It's that's cool that they Boston. Hey, way to go! That's cannabis, I believe. Right? Yeah, that's Massachusetts. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. So our next article comes out of leafmagazines.com. And I'm glad Bufo put this in, because if you're new to our show, new to psychedelics, and you're curious, this is a write-up of a guide to microdosing. Microdose your way to a macrodosed life. And this is written by Tian Schreier.
Yeah, so we talk a lot about microdosing on the show. So this is a kind of cool article for those who are, maybe new here and haven't heard a lot about it. Well, people have been self-medicating with psychedelics for decades. Interest has recently expanded into mainstream medicine, with researchers exploring their potential to treat conditions such as depression and post-traumatic stress disorder. At the same time, microdosing has gained popularity among everyone from Silicon Valley biohackers to menopausal moms seeking subtle cognitive enhancements in everyday life. Although anecdotal reports on the topic are abundant, clinical research is still catching up. Microdosing often involves taking a sub-perceptual dose of psilocybin or LSD, typically 5 to 10% of the common recreational dose, to produce subtly enhanced effects without cognitive distortion. By contrast, macrodosing requires perception-altering doses that can induce ego dissolution, a sense of interconnectedness, and lasting psychological benefits, particularly in trauma therapy. However, full doses may also cause nausea, anxiety, paranoia, and the classic, quote, bad trip. Research on microdosing has yielded mixed results, partially because optimal dosing remains unclear. In Microdosing for Health, Healing, and Enhanced Performance, author James Fadiman and Jordan Gruber argue the effective microdosing follows a Goldilocks principle, finding that sweet spot where the dose is neither too high nor too low. And again, that could be very individual. I find that some people just have a better metabolism for it, so they don't get quite the same effects. So they need a higher dose. It could be strain. There's a lot of variables there. Magic mushrooms include over 200 species that contain psychedelic compound psilocybin. The active psilocin molecule looks very similar to serotonin.
Yeah. Reported microdose effects: enhance creativity, deepen empathy and connection, calm and introspection, mood elevation, chronic pain tolerance, increased neuroplasticity to break bad habits. And that's duration 4 to 6 hours. Dosing in cycling. A microdose is a sub-threshold dose, landing just before a shift in consciousness. When you start to feel that slightly altered state, that is the threshold dose. Finding your ideal microdose depends on your metabolism and your potency of the mushrooms. Using a digital milligram scale, start with the 0.1 grams of dried ground mushrooms and increase by 0.1 gram. On subsequent dosing days until you start to notice effects. A microdose is a amount just below the threshold for psilocybin cubensis. What microdose fall between 0.1 and 0.5 milligrams? So they're not saying 1 gram, they're saying point. Okay, so be careful on your microdosing if you got the dot on the other side. The body builds a tolerance to psilocybin. So a couple of protocols have been proposed to keep the microdose effective. The Fadiman protocol: Dr. Fadiman proposes dosing on day 1, skipping the next 2 days, then dosing again on the 4th day, following this for 4 to 6 weeks. The Stamets stack, which is famed mycologist Dr. Paul Stamets, suggests taking doses combined with lion's mane and niacin for 5 days, then taking 2 days off for 4 to 6 weeks. You want to let us know about LSD?
Absolutely. So LSD, well, psychedelic mushrooms have been used ceremonially for thousands of years. Lysergic acid, LSD, guys, I am not pronouncing big words this morning, was discovered in 1943 when its potent psychoactive effects were accidentally revealed during agate fungus research. Although its mechanisms are not fully understood, LSD is also believed to affect serotonin. Reported microdose effects, mental clarity, enhanced energy and stamina, increased motivation and creativity, and mood elevation, duration lasting 8 to 12 hours. Dosing and cycling. LSD is chemically synthesized, so dosing is easier than with mushrooms. LSD can be distributed as microdots, gelatin strips, or blotter paper. A standard dose is 10 to 20 micrograms. Experiment in incremental doses starting at 5. I'm not sure if that's micrograms or if it's like even smaller to find your sweet spot. Absorbed sublingually, it can be felt within 30 minutes. Fadiman recommended a dose protocol for LSD as well. First dose the first day, take 2 days off, then dose another dose on the 4th day, following this for 4 to 6 weeks. Psychedelics are microdosed in cycles to maintain mental balance, or simply used as needed for creative boost or to tap into a flow state, whether choosing psilocybin for grounding or LSD for subtle cerebral elevation. The key is finding what dose works best for you. And I can tell you, I mean, there are products that I have seen on the market that are microdose LSD, and it's basically a full dose in a bottle of distilled water, and it's dosed at like dropper fulls. So you're not getting the full tab at once. And so people are actually using this currently in this space, although it's not legal anywhere yet. And people are having great effects from it. There's been no bad reports of microdosing LSD.
I knew someone that was anti-LSD and then got gifted a microdose jar, like just how you said, and they're also mushrooms. They do it with their mushrooms, and they like that. They're like, oh, you know, so it changed their mind on the whole microdosing.
Microdosing is so beneficial, and again, doesn't give you any of the so-called, side effects of tripping out or maybe seeing or hearing things that make you paranoid or anything like that. You don't get any effects. It's like someone just gives you a warm, fuzzy hug for a few minutes when it kind of kicks in, and then it's smooth sailing and happiness and focus and no bad thoughts.
No bad thoughts. So our last article of the evening comes from psychologytoday.com. And Mark S. Gold, MD, states, from bufo toad venom to big pharma, how a desert psychedelic molecule may become a modern antidepressant. His key points: research on synthetic 5-MeO-DMT has advanced from early observation studies to positive clinical trials. Scientists have moved natural toad secretions to standardized 5-MeO-DMT pharmaceutical formulations, and major questions remain regarding durability, optimal dosing, and placebo effects and long-term safety.
Yeah. So earlier this year, I wrote about one of psychiatry's most unusual drug development stories, a psychedelic compound first identified in the defensive secretions of the Sonoran desert toad that has now entered the realm of randomized clinical trials for severe depression. The field has advanced dramatically beyond the early period when the compound was known primarily through recreational use, and colorful names such as bufo, sapido, the toad, and even the Joe Rogan psychedelic. Today's scientific story, however, has surprisingly little to do with the toad itself. Many medicines began with unexpected observations in nature. Aspirin originated from willow bark, penicillin emerged from mold. Psilocybin was isolated from naturally occurring mushrooms. GLP-1 receptor antagonist owe part of their development to studies of Gila monster saliva. In each case, scientists did not simply use the natural source, they identified the active molecule, developed standardized pharmaceutical formulations, and rigorously tested them. The story of 5-MeO-DMT appears to be following the same path. The first randomized placebo-controlled phase 2b trial of inhaled synthetic 5-MeO-DMT has now reported robust antidepressant effects in patients with treatment-resistant depression, moving the field well beyond the small open-labeled studies that initially generated excitement. Kubala and colleagues study is now the landmark clinical study in the field. Participants experienced large reductions in depression severity. Remission rates approached 60% after a single treatment day, and no serious adverse events during the blinding phase. Psychiatric researchers have searched for faster and more effective antidepressants for decades. These findings represent an important milestone in ongoing studies to confirm clinical benefits. Psychiatry may be looking at carefully supervised intervention measured in minutes rather than months. The momentum became even more apparent when Eli Lilly disclosed plans to acquire Atai Berkeley for up to $3.8 billion, largely to obtain BPL-003, an intranasal formulation of synthetic 5-MeO-DMT. Of course, a multi-billion-dollar acquisition does not guarantee FDA approval, but when one of the world's largest neuroscience companies believes the science has matured enough to justify a major investment, attention is paid. The attraction is not simply to acquire another psychedelic. The possibility is far more ambitious. A medicine that could be administered in less than 30 minutes, yet produce antidepressant benefits lasting weeks or perhaps months after a single supervised treatment. More broadly, the acquisition indicates a changing landscape in psychiatry. Psychedelic medicines have moved outside academic laboratories and small biotechnology companies into mainstream pharmaceutical development. Just as Janssen's development of esketamine helped establish rapid-acting antidepressants, Lilly's investment may accelerate the next generation of neuroplasticity-based therapy.
Perhaps the most intriguing aspect of 5-MeO-DMT is not that it appears to act rapidly, it's how brief the treatment itself may be. Traditional antidepressants typically require daily administration for weeks before patients experience meaningful improvement. Ketamine can produce relief within hours, but generally requires repeated infusions or intranasal treatment, with each visit involving prolonged monitoring. By contrast, inhaled synthetic 5-MeO-DMT produces an intense but remarkably brief psychedelic experience, usually lasting only 15 to 30 minutes. If larger studies verify that combination of rapid onset short treatment duration, and durable benefit, 5-MeO-DMT can become one of the most practical psychedelic assisted therapies are currently under development. Despite encouraging findings, many important questions remain. One challenge is that psychedelic trials are inherently difficult to blind. Most participants can recognize whether they received an active psychedelic, making expectancy effects difficult to separate from the true pharmacological benefit. Investigators are refining study designs to minimize this limitation. Durability is also still uncertain. How long will improvement last after a single treatment? Which patients will require repeat dosing? And can additional treatment safety maintain remission? These questions will become increasingly important as large phase 3 trials move forward. Safety also deserves continued attention. The experience with synthetic 5-MeO-DMT has been reassuring when treatment occurs when under carefully controlled medical conditions. In these studies, patients are carefully screened before treatment. People with a personal or family history of bipolar disorder or schizophrenia are generally not enrolled. Participants receive a standardized pharmaceutical formulation and are monitored by experienced clinical teams before, during, and after treatment. That is very different from recreational use of natural toad secretions. Outside of research of specialized treatment settings, there is no careful screening, no standardized dose, and no medical supervision. Many use unknown or impure preparations, combine them with other drugs or alcohol, or have underlying psychiatric or medical conditions that increase the risk of adverse effects, including prolonged psychological distress of psychosis in susceptible individuals. As with electroconvulsive therapy, ketamine, transcranial magnetic stimulation, and every major advance in psychiatry before them, the full safety profile of synthetic 5-MeO-DMT will become clear only through large clinical trials, longer follow-up, and, if approved, carefully post-marketing surveillance. Wow.
Yeah, a new way of thinking about depression. Psychiatry has customarily relied on medical or medications taken every day to gradually modify brain chemistry. But psychedelic assisted therapies suggest a different possibility. Brief interventions capable of producing rapid and potentially lasting changes in brain circuits involving mood, cognition, and affective processing. Exactly how these benefits occur remains an active area of investigation. They may reflect advanced neuroplasticity, profound psychological experience, or, as in often true in medicine, a blend of biological and psychological systems working together. From my perspective, one of the most interesting possibilities is that psychedelics may help shift the brain from a maladaptive depressive state towards a healthier adaptive state. Whether this represents true circuit remodeling, psychological transformation, or both remains an important question for future research. One useful way to predict the potential of 5-MeO-DMT is to compare it with other rapidly acting investigational antidepressants. Ketamine can relieve depressive symptoms within hours, but it generally requires repeated treatment sessions lasting 1 to 2 hours, including monitoring. Psilocybin-assisted therapy, the most studied psychedelic treatment for treatment-resistant depression, has demonstrated encouraging and durable antidepressant effects. after 1 or 2 sessions. But psilocybin treatment usually requires 6 or more hours of clinical supervision. LSD is also under investigation for depression and anxiety, but its effects often extend 8 to 12 hours, making treatment considerably more demanding for both patients and treatment centers. By comparison, inhaled synthetic 5-MeO DMT typically produces an intense psychedelic experience lasting only 15 to 30 minutes. Yet early clinical trials suggest antidepressant benefits may persist well beyond the acute drug experience. Whether its ultimate efficacy matches or exceeds these other psychedelics or treatments with fewer side effects remains unknown. Medicine advances by replacing intriguing observations with rigorous evidence. Synthetic 5-MeO DMT has now crossed that threshold. Whether it ultimately becomes an approved antidepressant is still uncertain, but randomized clinical trials, not anecdotes, are driving the conversation. Whether BPL-003 ultimately succeeds depends on phase 3 trials, long-term safety data, and regulatory review. But one thing has already changed. The conversation has shifted from folklore to pharmacology, from anecdote to randomized clinical trials, and from curiosity to one of the most closely watched programs in modern neuropsychopharmacology. The story may have begun with a desert toad. Its future will be decided by science.
Huh. You know, I don't know what to think of it. Big Pharma now synthesizes. Are they do that with mushrooms, LSD, and all the other fun cacti and natural medicines?
I recently saw something on one of these sites, and I think I shared it, where they've actually taken E. coli bacteria and mutated it to act, I believe, like psilocybin. Again, why are we mutating things? If we know these compounds work the way they are, why can we just not have it be what it is, which is a natural compound that's helping people? Why? Because they want to customize, controlled dosage. So
the money
size tablet, they will get the same dose. Well, that's not necessarily going to work for every person, as we've seen in traditional. I kind of go through phases with it, where I do really well for a while and I stick to my regimen, and then I don't know if it's like my own laziness, or maybe it's just that I don't feel I need it, so I just don't do it for a little while. But then my body will tell me, like, hey, you probably should do a microdose tonight. So again, I don't have to do it every day. I don't have to do it, multiple times a day, like some pharmaceuticals. And you kind of get to know when's a good time and when's not. And it does help. So
let's hear from Ted Ringer again from Kirkland Lake on our way